Alrighty, I am back. In this episode, I'm going to give you the tools that I am actually using every single day to use my cycle inside my business. Inside this episode, I'm going to give you those tools that I'm actually using every single day that allow me to work smarter and not harder, but those other tools that are really enabling me to work at my peak, know when I'm going to be the best to perform them, know when you're going to have the most amount of energy and the capacity and all of those types of things so that you can get so much done in a finite amount of time. Chances are you are like me and you're a mom or you have other things going, and the amount of time that you actually have to work on stuff is probably uber thin. It's like uber small. And when it's uber small, we have to be very strategic. We have to be very intentional on what we're doing in that time frame so that you can get things actually moving forward and not just feeling like you're caught in this busyness all the time and not actually seeing any progress or not seeing any results. And chances are you are like me. And years ago, I was spending so many hours, quote unquote, working, but not actually and really doing anything. Like I feel like I was filling my time with stuff that I needed to get done or what I thought I needed to get done, but it wasn't actually moving my business forward at all. And it felt like I was wasting so much of my time and so much of my energy on things that now I look back and I'm like, geez, I could have been so much further ahead than I am today if I had only started leveraging some of these systems and leveraging some of these tools and just mindset way back then. Okay, so the first tool that I want to give you is, well, this one has kind of a couple of options. It's having a system or having a tool that's going to allow you to track your cycle automatically, right? Because if you're having to integrate your cycle inside your life and inside your business, but it's now becoming this added task, this other thing that you're having to do every single day, it's probably not going to be something that's sustainable for you. And so we want to create something that makes it easy and automatic or simple, that we're not having to just create more to do on your to-do list. So for me, this last September, I tried out two different tools, and the verdict is out on which one I like better. And there may be other tools that do it too. I just am unaware of them. But the two things that you want to track for your cycle every single month is your menstruation and your ovulation. Like you need to know both of those two pieces, because those two pieces are going to give you so much information and so much data about what's actually happening inside your body so that it makes it easier for you to predict when and how you should be doing different things. And so when we know what those two pieces are, it's going to make it so much easier. The easiest way to get that information, or one of the best ways to get that information, is basal body temperature. So if you don't know what basal body temperature is, it is the baseline of your temperature, your body, every single day, like at its core. So the only way that you can get this temperature that I know of is to take your temperature before you've even gotten out of bed, like laying in bed, you stick the thermometer in your mouth, like half asleep, half dead, and you check your temperature. And it has to be a thermometer that's like super sensitive so that it can test this micro shift in your temperature. So the first half of your month, when you're in that follicular phase, your temperature is kind of like what we call it a baseline. Once you've ovulated, that temperature spikes. And when I talk about spike, it's like less than half of a degree of a difference. So that's why you want to make sure that the temperature thermometer that you're using is super sensitive so that it can assess and sense that change. Now, that's going to tell you, hey, here's ovulation, or here's menstruation, here's ovulation. And then we use that data. I'll be honest with you, tracking that every single day, like I said, is adding something to my to-do list, something I don't have the time or the capacity to do. And aside from trying to get pregnant, I don't want to do that every single day. I want to be able to, use the tools of my body to be productive, but I don't want to add more to my to-do list. So the two tools that I've tested out since September is the Aura Ring and the Apple Watch, the new one, the new Apple 8. Both of these two tools are able to track temperature. Now, I had learned about the Aura Ring from a client who was using it, and she was raving about it and loving about it. So I purchased it as a used one to test it out and kind of see what I thought about it and what I liked and what I didn't. And then it was shortly after that, the new Apple 8 watch came out and it also tracks temperature. So I was like, well, let's test both of these. Let's see which one works better, which one I like better. And I will say the verdict is still out. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm still wearing both, trying to understand and just learn and listen to my body in two different ways. So the Aura Ring will track your temperature, it'll track your sleep, it'll track your exercise, your activity level, and it'll give you data and it'll say things like, you had a rough night sleeping, maybe take it easy today, or, today was a great day, you've recovered really well, you can push really hard. And it gives you some kind of feedback in that sense. I like the Apple Watch because I'm using it for other tools and other things, right? It's not just for tracking those, like my body. I can use it and leverage it in other ways. So both has its advantages and disadvantages. Data on it has been pretty similar. Most of the months I've noticed that the Apple Watch and the Aura Ring are very similar in terms of predicting my ovulation. So in the Aura Ring, it'll show you like that baseline temperature, and then you'll see the bars increase when the temperature increases. In the Apple Watch, I feel like you can't quite see the data as well. So it'll graph out your the data points, like your temperatures, but the shift isn't as visible. It's not as noticeable, and I don't know why. Other than the fact that it says it's checking your wrist temperature, that maybe it's not as sensitive, maybe it's not as detailed. My phone will send me a notice every whatever month and it'll say, "Hey, we've predicted you ovulated on this particular day." And up until this last month, they've matched. So the Aura Ring and the Apple Watch have matched the same. The Aura Ring this last month was not showing me those temperature spikes. I was not seeing that trend, but the watch sent me a notice and said, "Hey, it looks like you ovulated on this day." And it was a week later that those temperature spikes started to appear on my Aura Ring. I had a crazy month. It was crazy. So I was already in the back of my mind thinking my cycle's probably going to be off this month. It may not be as incredibly regular because what you do and how your life is functioning impacts the way your cycle shows up. And the month of January was crazy sauce for me. I was like in Costa Rica, in Lake Tahoe, in Arizona, launching. Like it was crazy. It was great and wonderful, but there was a lot to it. And so I was already kind of predicting my cycle's probably going to be off in February. So the watch, I'm not sure it actually was like using my data of my temperature to predict ovulation. I kind of think it was going off of just the calendar and the predictability of the calendar, which makes me question whether or not the Apple Watch is the best tool for that. And that maybe the Aura Ring is a little bit more sensitive and is a little bit better to actually give you that information. So, whichever one you go down, whichever one you use, I think both will give you more information than what you're using right now. And if you already have one over the other, I don't think you need to go out and get the other one. Use what you've got and lean into it and start listening and kind of using it as an added benefit to knowing and understanding where your body's at. So, creating, if there's like other tools, let me know. I'd love to test out other ones and see if they're more accurate, what they kind of look like, and how it plays out. But really, that's tool number one would be either to use the Aura Ring or Apple Watch or some other system that's going to allow you to automatically track your basal body temperature. Because that basal body temperature is going to be a huge indicator into where your cycle's at. Okay. Now, tool number two is Google Calendar. Now, I love Google Calendar, one, just because it's so streamlined and easy in my systems that I already have right now. But the thing that I love about it is that you can create a Google Calendar for just your cycle. So your cycle gets its own calendar and you can just click on or off if you want to see it. It makes it so that you can streamline your calendar. You do have to do it manually in the sense that you will go in there, you put in your recharge phase, you'll put in your accelerate phase, you'll put in your connect phase, and your reflect phase. So you put all the four phases in there as an event. And then you set the repeater, like the repeating thing, to the amount of days that your cycle is on average. And so what it's going to do is like, it's going to put them in there as a repeating event, not based on the number of days. And so as you're looking at your calendar, you get an invitation to be on a podcast. You get an invitation to be a part of a summit. You get your invitation to be a part of a live training, whatever, right? Like whatever the invitation is or whatever you are scheduling, all you have to do is click the little button and it's going to put your cycle on top of your calendar. So when you look and you're like, hey, March 17th, I'm going to be in my connect phase. Heck yes, this is going to be a great phase. I'm going to probably have great energy. I'm going to be communicative. I'm going to be able to relate with people. Sure, I will do this event. Like, this sounds amazing and it aligns. It's great. Versus when you're looking at your calendar and you're looking at something and somebody asks you to be a part of this major event that you're kind of wishy washy about, but it happens to land right in the middle of your period week, you know that you may not have the capacity for it. You can still say yes. Like, I'm not saying that based on where your cycle's at, you have to say no. But knowing where you're going to be in your phases and where you're going to be in your cycle is going to be able to empower you to make better decisions. You're going to be able to say yes or no to things with a much more awareness of what your capacity is going to be at and what you're going to need in that phase. So, for instance, if you said yes to that event, you really want to do it, then knowing that you're going to be in that period week, you might want to create some space on either end of that event. You're going to be able to adjust based on that. So, having your Google Calendar and your cycle married together makes it so much easier to know what your capacity is going to be at, where you need to be, how you're going to feel, and so you can be able to make those decisions and make those responses from a very smart place, a very self aware place, rather than getting there and being like, oh, I don't feel it. I'm not feeling good. And feeling like you're just taxing yourself and burning yourself out. So much simpler. Makes it so much easier to just like schedule stuff in. Okay. Now, number 3 is ClickUp. Now, I love ClickUp for a variety of reasons. It is my number one system for communicating with my team. It's the number one system we use for managing our podcast. It's the number one system I use for like to-do lists. Like, literally, ClickUp is the brains of my business in so many ways. And I also love using ClickUp because I've created my to-do list with a category of its own that talks about my cycle, or it puts like cycle phase in there. So, we all have those like thoughts. We're in the drive-through line picking up the kids, or we're standing making dinner and it's like, oh, I need to do that. Or, oh, that's a good idea. So what I do is I put it in ClickUp on my to-do list, and then I put and label on it what phase of the month it's best suited in. So that when you sit down at the computer and you have time to get work done, right? You have a finite amount of time. And so you need to make sure that you're focused in that time. What happens is that you go to your calendar or you go to your computer and you pull up ClickUp and you look at all of the tasks, you can sort them by what phase you're in. So if, for instance, right now you're in your connect phase, you would sit down at your computer, pull up all your connect phase tasks, and then get straight to work on one of those tasks that matches and aligns with where the energy is right now. What I see happen for so many women is that they sit down at the computer to get stuff done and they have so much to do in a finite amount of time that sometimes they spend so much time just trying to get oriented and trying to figure out, what do I even do right now, that they waste that time. It's easy to do. I've done it too. But when you use a system like ClickUp, where you have this running to-do list of all the things that you have, but it's sorted and organized based upon your phases in your cycle, it makes it so much easier that when you have that block of time and you get down and you sit down, all you have to do is say, I'm in this phase. I have this block of time. What do I need to get done? And so instead of thinking, oh, I need to record all these social media posts, but I don't feel like doing it. Or, oh, I need to do the podcast, but I'm not in that. I don't feel good. You literally go straight to the thing that you need to get done, and you go straight to the one that matches with your phase and your cycle. It makes it so much easier. I even put it in there for all the tasks that I give my assistant. I don't know if she does them in those phases, but it allows her that ability too, to match up the tasks and the things that she needs to get done based on where she's at in her phases and where I'm at. Like, it just makes us all so much more effective. We can get right into work instead of trying to be like, ho hum, where do I go? What do I do? What do I focus on right now? Okay, so those are my 3 tools. Hands down, I use them every single day. Some sort of an automated tracker. Right now, I'm using the Aura Ring and the Apple 8, Google Calendar. Or if you have some other calendar, but I highly recommend making sure that it's one that you can like toggle on and off, because you don't always need to see it. But when you need to see it, you want it to be simple, easy, and quick. Number 3 would be ClickUp, so that you can have a system that allows you to categorize your to-do list that you just throw in there based on where you're at in your cycle, so that when you have that small time block, when you know you need to get work done, you sit down, you focus in on exactly where you're at based on your energy and your phases and your hormones, and get that stuff banged out super fast, super quick. This is truly, all of these pieces are what makes you so much more effective. Based on around when we pull your cycle into your business in a very strategic way, I guarantee you will get far more accomplished. You'll feel far more productive. You'll achieve bigger results, work hard or work faster, easier, not harder, and see so much more progress. It just feels so much better. It feels more balanced. It feels like you get off of this feeling of having to push yourself all the time and get much more into the flow. Get into the flow of actually getting work done in a way that feels good and feels aligned. I would love to know which one of these tools you are going to try using and implementing, or if you have another tool that you've loved that's made it super easy for you to integrate your cycle in your business. I would love to know that. So either send it over to me, drop it in the comments, whatever it is, I would love to hear from you. And until then, I will see you next week. But remember, throughout the week, your cycle is your greatest superpower. When you embrace it, listen to it, lean into it, I guarantee you it will revolutionize everything about the way you see your body, your business, your time, your relationships, literally everything. With that, I will see you next week.